So we have now discussed code generation for a function call, and we discussed the idea of an activation record. And then we said that when we do a function call, then we also called code gen on the body of the function. But recall that the body of the function can make references to variables, and the only variables in our language are basically the arguments that have been passed. The actual arguments are the values of the formal arguments, and the formal arguments are the variables, and the actual arguments are the values for those variables. And so if the body of the function, the callee function, accesses those variables, then we need to supply the corresponding values. And so that's the next topic of our discussion, and I call it code gen for variable references. And once again, we want to implement cgen for a function definition. The definition has a number of formal arguments, which are the only variables in our language. And then it has an expression that may refer to the values of these formal arguments. And so E may contain references to x1 ... and we need to convert them into, so let's say there was a reference to x1, then I need to convert them to a load word instruction that would load the value of x1 into the register A0, because that's the invariant of a code generator, that the value would be available in A0. The only question that's remaining is what should be the address at which I should use to access the value of, let's say, some variable xi. All right. So here is the stack state during function body, and during the function body you have the old frame pointer. So this is the start of the activation record. Then the arguments laid out in the reverse order, the return address, and then some maybe temporary values that I've created for intermediate evaluation of the body of the function. And this is where the next value of the stack pointer is pointing. So this is where the next value in the stack should be pushed. And this is the frame pointer that's pointing to the bottom of the activation record. Actually it's pointing to the return address, and there is some stuff on above it, and then there's some stuff below it. Now, if the body of the function is an expression, so if the expression contains a reference to some formal variable, let's say x10, then clearly that I need to basically refer some location over here, right? Because that's where x10 is going to live, assuming n is greater than 10. It's somewhere in this argument area, and I actually can basically name it exactly. So there are two options on how to name this particular location that I'm marking with a red line. First option is to use a frame pointer relative address. So for any argument xi, for the ith argument, where I is between 1 and n, the instruction would be load from the address $fp plus 4 into I. And so this is the offsetted address 4 into I of $fp, and I can do that inside the body of the function. Recall that because of scoping rules in our language, this is the only place, the body of the function is the only place where I can access these formal arguments. For example, I can't access the formal arguments in the callee of the body. So if the body makes another call, then I won't be able to access these formal arguments. Because of scoping rules, we are sure that the only place that the formal arguments can be accessed is the body of the function itself. And throughout the body, we have something called a frame pointer, which is pointing to the bottom of the activation record, and we know that the argument is available at 4 into I for the ith argument from that frame pointer. So that's option 1. Option 2, so there's actually another option, and the other option is that I use an offset that's relative to the stack pointer. Now there's a slight problem here, because during the body of the function, it is possible that the evaluation of the body required to push some more stuff on the stack. Recall that most of the time we are pushing some stuff on the stack to save some intermediate results. So there could be some temporary values, and SP could be at a non-constant offset from the ith argument, right? But it's still possible actually, and so you could say cgen xi equals load word z of $sp. So I'm adding some unknown quantity z, but is z actually unknown? No, z is based on the current count of temporary values. Right? So if I am able to count how many temporary values are there, so let's say there were t temporary values, then I would say 4 into t plus 4 into I, and plus 4 because of the return address, and that would give me from the stack pointer the location. So 4 into z would be 4 into t plus 4 plus 4 into I for the ith argument. Is z known at code generation time? And the answer is yes, because it is the code generator that is basically laying out the temporaries in the stack. And so during the code generation, the only thing that we need to do is change this code generator function to also return the number of temporaries that have been pushed on the stack. And if we are able to keep a count of that, then we can use that count to identify this value z. Alright. So for example, whenever we push something on the stack as an intermediate result, we also keep a count of we just increment the count of temporaries, and based on that we can maintain a count of z, and that way we can also use an offset into SP to access the ith variable inside the body. Now in this particular language, this is always possible to do because you can just count the temporaries. It is in fact it is often considered better to not use a frame pointer and only use a stack pointer, because that saves a register. Right? As an optimization, saving a register is a big optimization, because that means you have more faster memory available close to you, and you can use it to store other relevant stuff and not just the frame pointer, which is now it seems not very necessary, and so is almost redundant. And so in many languages, this may be considered, option 2 may be considered a better strategy than option 1. What do real programming languages and real compilers do? Well, for example, it also depends on the language. So for example, a C compiler would typically use option 2, which is avoid the need for a frame pointer and thus have an extra register. It also depends on the particular architecture that we are working on. So for example, if it's the x86 architecture, there are only very few registers. There are only 8 registers. And so saving a register becomes a big optimization. On the other hand, if it was a MIPS architecture, you have more registers. For example, you have 32 registers. And so saving a register is not so important, and it may be more important too. So what is the advantage of using a frame pointer? The advantage of using a frame pointer is that it becomes more easy to debug. So for example, while the code generator may keep track of what is where, if I'm using GDB or some other debugger to identify what is the state of the program at any given point of time or after a crash, then it is much easier to walk through using the frame pointers, because all I need to do is let's say I wanted to do a back trace, then I need to look at the current value of frame pointer, and then at a constant offset from there, I'll get the frame pointer of the callee. And I can keep doing this till I get to the main function, the top level function. And so frame pointer improves debuggability, readability of the assembly code. Stack pointer saves you one register. All right. Also, in some cases, it becomes harder to use a stack pointer. For example, in C, it is possible to use variable length arrays as local variables. In those cases, if I wanted, I need to also keep track of the size of the variable length array to be able to access, let's say, an argument or something like that, because now Z will also have to count the size of that variable length array that the user declared as a local variable, and so it becomes more complex at that point. And at that point, sometimes it would have been better to actually use a frame pointer rather than a stack pointer in some cases. But usually it would be considered an optimization, a better thing to actually avoid the need for a frame pointer. All right. To summarize our code generation strategy, the activation record must be designed together with the code generator. We saw that when we were generating code for our language and generating the caller callee code. Code generation can be done by a recursive traversal of the AST. So notice that the cgen function is nothing but defined on all the operators. And so the way you're going to generate the code is you're going to do a recursive descent on the AST, and then for every node you're going to apply the appropriate rule, and that's how you're going to generate the code for the entire program. Further, it's very clear that there are several improvement opportunities. The first one is that we are not using all the available registers in MIPS. We are doing too much pushing and popping on the stack. we are using a frame pointer when we didn't have to use a frame pointer necessarily, and so on. So there are several improvement opportunities, and those will be our kind of future topics on how one could generate optimized code rather than just generate any functional code.